Welcome back to the Feminist Frames special Game of Obsessions edition, where we podcast week by week the final season of Game of Thrones. Today we'll be discussing episode 69. Spoiler alert, we will be spoiling every episode up to the current one, as well as throwing in some of our own predictions. I'm Aubrey, here with my co-host Olivia.
Hello.
And Olivia, what did you think?
I think they're killing it this season. We discussed the episode 1, how that was an amazing first episode. Usually the beginning of the seasons kind of just set everything up and aren't very exciting, don't really reveal much, but they were on a roll with that, and it just kind of continues right on into this episode. There's so much more that we get to experience with all the characters, and
this was one of my favorite episodes in a long time.
Yeah.
Especially that, minus battle episodes in a really long time.
So much payoff in this episode.
Finally seeing all of these power characters together. I think they were just doing this long shot around the, war council room, and I'm just everybody's here. Theon's here, Sam's here, everybody's here. It was just awesome to see all these characters all in one place.
For sure.
And this is episode A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, a nice little Dunk and Egg tribute there.
Yeah, especially since the knight that they might be referring to as a
descendant of Sir Duncan. George R. R. Martin confirmed that his, miniseries Dunk and Egg, Sir Duncan the Tall and the Adventures of Aegon V, that Brienne is actually a descendant of the lovable knight Sir Duncan, which is perfect for her.
Tall.
Of course.
Clearly.
And we have a lot of nice little sweet odes to that, but it is better known to fans as episode 69.
Yeah, I guess they didn't want to spoil anything in the episode.
Yeah, they're not announcing any episodes.
Okay.
We just didn't notice until it was 69.
Yeah.
That's all that happened.
Sure. And then everybody just goes
and
crazy.
It was appropriately named because there were some nice scenes in there.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally we have almost all of our major characters in the same place. Basically everybody but Cersei, and if you want to count Euron or Qyburn, I guess they almost matter.
They're just one and the same, I feel like.
Qyburn, honestly, I like Qyburn better than Euron, and that's really saying something.
Nobody likes Euron.
No.
Nobody ever, not in the show, not in real life.
I just feel like he became a caricature of what he's supposed to be in the books. Mm-hmm. And maybe they just felt they did evil with Ramsay and they were done. I don't know.
Yeah, he's definitely more of a threat. It feels like in the books.
In
the show, it's just
horrible person.
A nuisance, and you're going to be easy to take care of, and you don't really seem to carry that much weight around.
Maybe it's the eyeliner. I don't know. It's a caricature. It just seems very Disney villain. That's what I'm getting Jack Sparrow from you instead of evil fucking pirate. But anyway, that's just how much we hate Euron. So getting to some of our favorite scenes right off the bat, we have this Jaime judgment.
Mm-hmm. He finally gets his due after his brother Tyrion faced trial, and Cersei faced faced the same. Jaime's now confronted with all of his past misdeeds in a room of people that all pretty much hate him, except for...
Oh, yeah. Besides Tyrion and Brienne, yeah. Or wildlings who are who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he keeps his cool. I like his honesty. You know what? I would do it again.
Oh, for sure. I think
I did for my family, you did for yours, whatever. But it's not until Bran says the things we do for love that he is shook. He looks over and is just oh, shit.
That was such a great callback. I just remember being in the room watching it and everybody just kind of freezing for a moment,
and
just went there.
Bran, just kind of subtly being you know that I know, but they don't know, but I know. And we got to defeat some White Walkers, and maybe we'll talk about it later.
Sure. Because that's kind of, one of the huge things that sort of kicked off this whole war between the kings.
Oh, yeah,
of Westeros
absolutely.
To begin with. So if like everybody knew that, knew he was in deep shit.
Littlefinger had his hand in a way, but by saying all this stuff about the Lannisters first, and maybe she never would have suspected, but yeah, that definitely was one of the first major events. I did love with Sansa, she's like, he attacked my father. Brienne like, yeah, but I vouch for him. She's like, all right, he's cool.
Yeah. Well, if you say so.
And, I mean, that works. He did swear to Catelyn, so it's a little bit honoring that, too. Like, hey, listen, I am here to do that. She set me free.
And it is the, like, full story, because that's the thing with Jaime. A lot of the noble things that he does, he doesn't tell people, and, like, there's not really anybody else to tell that story, except for now Brienne, So he's... And definitely, along with his honesty, he's definitely not somebody that, is going to, do that whole self-promotion thing, especially whenever it comes into terms of, like, doing good things, doing noble things. Like, same thing whenever he killed the Mad King. He doesn't explain that whole story. Nobody knows the full background, so... Besides
Brienne.
Yeah, and everybody just thinks, he is who he is, and he doesn't have, noble bone in his body, and he plays that role. So he's not one to, promote that himself. So, thank goodness for Brienne stepped forward to kind of share this other side of Jaime.
For sure. And also... Speaking of throwing your weight around, Sansa completely undermining Dany in that scene.
Yes.
As the rightful queen of the North.
It is so actually, when Theon comes back, that was one of my favorite moments in this episode. Honestly, it was the first one to get me all kind of choked up. Like last season,
I think I cried
episode. I didn't
two
really
separate
cry.
times in this episode.
Yeah, it was just like I've even thought to myself, like after I was getting a little choked up and teary eyed after the Sansa Theon reunion, I was like, wasn't expecting that out of myself.
We were talking about like whether or not we can forgive Theon yet, but I think seeing Sansa forgive Theon was this really emotional moment, and like, okay, he has earned the forgiveness. It wasn't ours to give; it was hers.
Right.
So
it was just
that was an incredible scene,
so touching. And then whenever Daenerys is like, "Oh, hey, you're back. What are you doing here?" and he's like, "Well, I came to fight." And then he looks at Sansa.
And like, not for you.
Yeah, for Sansa. That's why I'm here. And just kind of the look on Daenerys' face too.
Her looks this of just like not having the love of the people like the Starks have. You can see it all over her face, and it bothers her, but she's doing nothing to earn it, know? And there's a reason the Starks have the love of the people.
Yeah, it definitely brings back that age-old question of, like, what's a good ruler? Like, is it ruled by fear, ruled by love? Like, how do you balance those things?
That Renly quote I always go back to, like, do you still think great warriors make great kings? Because that's Dany.
Right.
That scene was great. And the scene preceding it, the Sansa and Dany scene, where Dany thinks she's going to smooth talk, and like maybe also she's been surrounded by men who are very attracted to her, and that's worked out for her in the past.
Yeah, and she thinks she kind of gets Sansa a little bit. Like,
she
where
absolutely
Sansa puts on a fake smile for a moment, and she's like, "Oh, I got her right in my little pocket too." Like,
and then she's like, "Yeah, no, what about the North?"
Yeah, which was a badass move. I can't believe that there are still Sansa naysayers out there.
Yeah, we have one in our own friend group, unfortunately, that we have to call out every time.
Like she's coming.
She's grown so much and has such a subtle power. Like, she is powerful. She's making these decisions, undermining the rightful Targaryen queen, everyone thinks, right in front of her face.
And I think probably the biggest character arc,
Oh yeah, her and Jaime, absolutely, in different ways, obviously. Yeah, and then we have kind of the Shireen 2.0. But yeah, so we have that little Shireen 2.0. The girl reminds him of Shireen. She has grayscale scars on her face. And Gilly and Davos convince her to go defend the crypts. Which, speaking of, they mention like no less than 8 times in this entire episode about the crypts and how safe they're going to be.
It must be real safe and secure now.
Obviously very safe. We'll talk about that when what we think of the next episode. Our big war table scene, everybody is there and we are laying out plans. Specifically, I'm assuming so that the writers can thwart them next episode.
Right, exactly. Like,
brand bait.
I don't know. There's no way that, this is exactly how it's going to happen. Like, they're so ready for it. Like, well, you're not going to be.
No, there's no way the Night King is going to walk into your trap, though, as well as you walked into Ramsay's. So, nice try.
Yeah, the Night King doesn't quite have that emotional... Like, he's not going to be able to be...
Vulnerability.
Manipulated like that.
Yeah. And he wants to kill Bran, but, I mean, he's not going to do it. They also did say they're going to hold the dragons back by Bran, and I guess to get the Night King, but it's also, like, they would be helpful out in the field. I know you don't want to lose any more of them, but...
Right. I did like, though, how at one point Arya asked, like, that'll take care of the Night King, and Bran's just like, I don't know. Like, nobody's tried that. Like,
yeah.
So just, like, your best laid plans, like, may not work also, so...
Oh, yeah. My favorite part of that scene, actually, is just that someone finally calls out Bran on his shit. Mm-hmm. Like, he's like, oh, yeah, the Night King wants to kill me. And Sam's like, why?
Yes.
Like, you're just a weird little robot boy.
It's probably one of my favorite things lately whenever characters in the film or shows say things that
what
the
you want. Yeah.
Is thinking, like, thank God they're going to address this.
Right. That was, like, the best part of that whole scene, I think. And then, yeah, everybody kind of drinking by the fire. We have some sweet scenes with, Arya and the Hound and Beric up on the wall, and then being like, I'm not spending my last night with you bastards.
Yeah, I definitely like the everybody sort of retreating into their own corners, finding their own comforts places.
Making jokes by the fire, like old times, drinking wine. And then, we get Brienne's scene. My second tier.
That got me.
Oh my God. It's just, she's been probably the most honorable, likable, wonderful character who finally gets her due, and it was so beautiful. I just can't get over it. And it was coming from Jaime. Like, the fact that he was finally seeing her for all that she is, which is a better knight than any of them. It was just, I
definitely loved everybody's reactions to it. First, after Tyrion mistakenly says Sir, Brienne, and he's like, oh, sorry. And then Tormund questions it. Like, you're not a knight. I'm like, why not? I'm like, that's bullshit. And I'm just like, thank you. Like, can always count on the wildlings to
be like,
point out the arbitrary bullshit.
Sexism? Yeah.
Of the realms.
They're like, I've seen you tear down lots of people. What do you mean you're not a knight?
Yeah. And especially the, back and forth between, whenever, just, the looks that, people give her whenever she's like, I don't want to be a knight anyways. It's fine.
Bullshit.
And then Pod just kind of gives her, you want this and deserve this kind of, look. Like, it's okay to say that. Speaking
of one of the just most wholesome characters, also Pod. In his song.
Yes.
Pod sings Jenny of Old Stones, which also is a tie into the Dunk and Egg, and potentially foreshadowing. There's a lot of theories going around about that in the song choice, because Aegon VI, I believe, gave up his crown for Jenny of Old Stones.
I didn't look too much into the song, so you kind of know more of that story than I do.
So yeah, maybe a little sign of once again Jon giving up his crown. We'll see, or making sacrifices. And we would be remiss to not talk about that weird ass Tormund story of the giant milk. Just okay, just
everybody's reaction to that was just gold. Brienne looking purely disgusted, Jaime looking very confused.
Yeah, we gotta talk about